Welcome to Heart of the Wild with Tristan and Diana. Today we are very excited to have a special guest with us, someone that we both know and Tristan knows very well, renowned wildlife photographer and photographer in residence for Tandatula, which is a fantastic lodge in the Timbavati Reserve in Kruger National Park. He has some incredible experiences that I'm hoping he'll share. We'll be talking with him in just a moment. He also has published 2 books. Hopefully I've got that number right. And he is just a fantastic human being. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Chad Cocking.
Hello.
Hello, Chad.
Hello. Oh,
Hey,
so
Chad.
good. Hey, Diana. Lovely to see you. Tristan, it's been ages.
Been a long time. Very long. We just got off, literally just got off Game Drive and put the microphone up. So yeah, cool. Nice to see each other. And we were guiding a group together. So we spent a lot of time together the last couple of days.
You didn't ask me
Amazing.
a single question about photography, though.
I was saving them all for today.
Okay, excellent. Thanks so much
You
for
two
having
know
me.
each other. You two know each other, is that right?
I've been doing this a little while, and so has Tristan, and our paths crossed about 3.5 years ago, and we've actually become such good friends that we play golf with each other and still talk afterwards, which is great.
Well, that's important. Yeah. I'm glad you're still friends after that.
Yeah, for sure. It's because I always beat him, so...
Actually, honestly, in all honesty, I think it's you probably are up at the moment. Especially Chad shot. I mean, this is not related to the podcast at all, but he shot like 80 the other day, which is quite unbelievable for anybody that's listening. That it might be an amateur golfer. Like that's very, very impressive. So I've got a lot of work to do.
I have no idea if that's good or bad, actually. So
that's
good
amazing,
to know
actually.
on how well that is.
If the guiding doesn't work and photography is getting a bit slow, then I think he's just going to go on the PGA. It'll be good.
Scottish Scheffler better watch himself.
Okay, we'll call him out. Maybe he'll come on and talk about your photography skills next.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I'd rather
Chad,
stick to that.
Okay. Well, Chad, when you're not golfing and nudging around Tristan on your game drives, would love to talk about your photography skills. So first of all, how did you get into guiding, and how did that also kind of parlay into photography? Is that how that all happened?
It was actually when I was studying, and it was in the early days of digital photography. I was just getting acquainted with new cameras, and I was looking for a distraction from scientific journals, and I found a wildlife photographic website in South Africa called Outdoor Photo, and I ended up spending more time reading the forums and commenting on people's wildlife photography than I did writing my dissertation. So I thought, while I'm getting distracted by this photography and before I embark on my master's degree, I should actually take a bit of time off, go work in the bush and take some photographs. So it was actually the photography that led me to becoming a guide. I thought guiding was the easiest way of getting to spend time in the bush. And that's what led me to the Timbavati for a gap year taking photos. Hadn't taken enough photos after year 1, so I did another year and still hadn't taken enough. So after 3 years, I decided that I needed to now go back and study. But yeah, the lure of the bush, the lure of taking photos, and just to be honest, by that stage, the lifestyle of being out here was too great. So after a year back in the city, I returned to the bush, and some 18 years later, I still carry my camera with me every game drive. Still get very annoyed when I miss a photographic opportunity, but it's been a really rewarding side hustle to what has now become my profession.
Wow. I didn't realize that it was the photography that led you to sort of this life, as you call it. I know you always talk about guiding as your life. It's not just your job. And so I know you just said that there's something that kind of keeps pulling you, and then also there's moments that you get frustrated if you miss a moment. So actually kind of want to talk a little bit about that. Is there something that makes you sure that that is a moment that you want to capture, that you know that that is the time that you need to take a photo?
I'm very lucky that I get to do this on a daily basis. So there's always tomorrow. There's always other opportunities. So I don't stress too much if, the light isn't good or if there's a bit of grass in front of the leopard's face, because I know I'm going to get another opportunity to do it. Whereas the guests that we have are only here with us for a few days, and that can sometimes be a bit frustrating for them. But because of the greatness of time I have here, I don't get frustrated by those little things. But every now and then, I'm watching a sighting unfold, and there's a couple that spring to mind. I remember the one was 3 lion cubs that had just had a meal. They were had a drink of water, and they were playing around, running at each other. And there's a series of shots as the cubs came together, and I clicked away. And when I got home, I don't often download my photos immediately after drive, but this was perfect light. I thought, I've got to see these because I love lion cubs. And I'm going through the series, and as the photos are coming up, they sharp, until the one moment where the cubs all come together, and that photo was blurred. And I was on the verge of tears. I think I can't repeat what I was saying to my computer and to myself and my camera, but I was upset. I was really, really distraught. And to make it worse, the next photo in the series was perfectly sharp again. So the only one I wanted to be sharp wasn't. Yeah. But it really upset me. And it was moments like those that make me realize that although I often dismiss the passion I still have for photography, when I get that upset over a missed photo opportunity, I realize that actually, hey, this is still something very important to me and my enjoyment out here. So that was a lesson. But also, I always advocate, I'm a photographer. I'm a naturalist who enjoys wildlife photography as opposed to a photographer who specializes in nature. And those are quite different. So for me, the being in the bush is the most important thing. If I'm able to capture the moments while I'm out there, that's a bonus. But I try not to let ruined photos or missed photographic opportunities ruin the magic of being in the bush and the moments that I get to witness with my own eyes. But I'm not going to lie. It's always great to be able to capture it in camera too.
No, and also, we are so lucky because, like Chad's saying, we're out there every single day, and so we get to see some amazing things. I'm just thinking to myself and laughing a little bit because you mentioned a piece of grass in front of a leopard's face, and we've been looking for a leopard for like the last week, and we can't find one. But it gets a bit dire when it's just you and I out there. Yeah, geez. With our group that we just guided, trying to find a leopard was unbelievably difficult. But anyway.
I found one. What was wrong with you?
I try to find one, but there's a running joke in the reserve which is like almost getting a little bit frustrating for me, to be honest with you, that every time I respond to a sighting the animal runs away. And it's happening more and more, and it's kind of freaking me out a bit, kind of like with you and cheetahs. Whenever you're not driving, there's a cheetah that gets seen in the afternoon. Oh
no, yeah. Is it some kind of pheromone or something you're putting out when you're driving
too
up
much
and they're running away from
you? My big mane that scares them off.
But I actually wanted to ask you a question because I remember once driving around. This is when I first came to Tanatula, when I started here, and I was amazed by how big Chad's camera lens was. Like, you don't actually often get to see that. Especially where I came from, I didn't actually see that many big cameras, truth be told. And so I asked him once in a leopard sighting, funny enough, if I can take a photo, if I can borrow it and, just see how I do. And I picked it up and I aimed it at the leopard and I shot away and everything like that. And with the camera, it was so good. Like the photos came out all right. But then the leopard, honestly, I looked at it and I don't think it even moved. But then you picked up your camera and you took photos and they were like way better than mine. You could see that they were better than mine. Sorry. And I don't know. Do you think that maybe photography, is that something that you've learned to do, like with the positioning and like having an eye for photography, or do you think that maybe you're also kind of born with that like skill, like almost like someone being like really good naturally at music? Do you think maybe you can also be like have like natural talent with photography?
I think it definitely includes, it's a natural gift, but you're right, you have an eye for it. When I was before I came to this path in my life, my 2 career paths were going to be in the natural sciences or in graphic design. I always enjoyed the more creative side. If ever I was doing a project for school, no matter if it was an English or biology project, I put a lot of emphasis into the presentation, making things look good. I did art as one of my main subjects in school, and I remember when I told my mom that I was going to be doing art, she went and got my art book and showed this to me, and she said, "You really think you can do art?" And I had these pictures of cars that didn't even have round wheels, and she's like, "You really got to pull up your socks and learn how to be draw and do something because I lacked any artistic skill. But then I started drawing animals and drawing wildlife, and suddenly I found something I was passionate about. We're going to have to pause here.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
might have to
Lunch is
pause.
ready.
Can you hear the drum?
Oh, that sounds amazing, actually.
Yeah. So we're not pausing for the drums, we just got to go eat quick.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. I love that. I kind of want to dance to this.
That's actually
Dun,
it.
dun, dun,
They're
dun,
4 minutes
dun,
late. How
dun,
dare they?
dun. Oh, I miss this, you guys. I actually really miss this.
I know.
Could you be honest? Could you hear the drum from your room when you were here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the end of camp and you can hear this.
Yeah, I know. I can never hear it in my room.
Yeah. It's because you're asleep at this time.
Yeah, actually,
actually is our nap
that's
time.
super interesting that it's that loud from where you
Yeah.
guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah, even without a mic, it's loud.
I can't believe your mom said that you didn't have artistic talent.
No, it was awful. I actually still have the book that I often bring it out to people just to show how bad I am. I'll maybe send you some pictures you can put on the screen now.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, no, I found this love of drawing animals, and that completely transformed my artistic path. Actually ended up getting the award for the most artistic student in my final year of school.
Really?
Yeah.
What, in
I'm not
matric or
surprised
Matric,
about
in
that.
matric, yeah.
Seriously?
I'm not
so,
surprised.
you know, I think that then led into the photographic side of things. And, you know, for me, with cameras and when I started photography to today, there's been huge advances. Today it is incredibly easy to get good shots just because the cameras are so, you know, they focus for you, they expose for you. You don't actually have to think about the technical side of photography. You need to understand it, but you can get away without doing that. But there is the way you compose, the moments that you capture, that is something that I think allows my work to kind of stand out a bit more than someone who just picks up a camera and points away.
Okay.
So I look for compositions, I look for interesting things. I try use light when it's good, and you know, again, I know what to look for. So I'll take photos of lesser scenes, but you know, when there's something really good, great light, great background. For me, a background is also important to allow your subject to stand out. I will then click away with, a band, and I will hopefully get something out of that.
Okay.
But then when I go through the photos, also the subtle editing and just improving on the little things. I think it all kind of adds together. But yeah, my cameras, the big lens you mentioned, and you said you picked it up and you were taking good photos. A lot of photographers say it's not about the equipment. I tend to disagree. You know, you can do well with any sort of equipment. The best equipment is the camera that's in your hand at the moment, but having good quality equipment makes your job a great deal easier. I get so many more keepers and so many more good shots because of the equipment that I've invested in than I would have if I was shooting with lesser equipment. So
Sure.
I'm never going to shy away from the fact that my camera helps me get good photos, but you know, to get those standout shots that make somebody, when they're scrolling through the endless supply of wildlife images online, that make them stop and look at yours, you need to have an eye for it, and be it in the composition, the light, the moment, it kind of all plays together.
So I'm gonna have to invest in a massive camera. Basically, that's what you're saying. If I have any shot of being recognized as a photographer,
big
send it
camera.
in.
And a video, some kind of video equipment.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Chad,
I almost get.
I wonder what. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, it's quite funny because, like, working here, I mean, Chad's very well known. And I have got a camera, but it's a little dinky thing. And so often guests, because Chad's here, will ask me, like, oh, so I assume you also do photography? And I'm like, not really, because I'm too embarrassed to pull out my little point and shoot in a sighting. And Chad pulls out this, like, absolute cannon of, like, a camera. And I'm, like, I literally have to put my camera closer to get, like, it zoomed. But I thought
You'll actually like walk right up to the animal, like right up to the lion, to get the zoomed in shot.
the GoPro on a long
Perfect.
stick. Yeah.
Well, with that amazing equipment, Chad, I wonder what is the coolest or wildest shot you gotten, and what is like kind of the coolest experience that you've had while you're shooting out in the bush?
Have you ever been asked that question before?
I have, but now I've got to be careful.
Yeah.
I did one other podcast, and the guy, it was a similar question, like what is my most special photo? and he had already drawn a copy of the photo, and as I was telling the story, just lifted it up. It is probably my most iconic photo that I've captured. It is sitting in the contrast book, but it was a very fortuitous, somewhat planned photo, but it required a lot of luck. And it was of a tawny lion and a white lion that happened to come and drink at a waterhole where we were sitting waiting for them, but could never have imagined that they would have lined up as perfectly as they did, and got them looking straight down the barrel of my lens while their tongues were lapping. But a white lion is a very rare genetic variation of a tawny lion that at that point had only been seen in the Timbavati for many decades, and people just hadn't had the opportunity to photograph wild white lions with the sort of equipment that I had. So it, and possibly still remains, probably the best white lion photo that's been taken, just because of the way that they set up, the contrast of it. And again, it was purely the lions doing, me being in the right place at the right time. We'd been waiting for them the day before. We'd got to they'd been eating a giraffe, and they went and they rested near a waterhole. And I was with Grant Murphy, actually, one of our colleagues from King's Camp. I was on holiday at the time, and we said, let's get there around sunset. They're going to come and drink. And I said, I want this shot. And we got there, and we were very excited. And then we went to the lions, and they were in a food coma. They just were not moving. So we're like, oh, well, we missed our chance. The next morning, they were still sleeping in the same spot. So we said, okay, let's try that afternoon. And as we were approaching the sighting, there was actually a film crew filming the white lions. And they said, just wait at the dam. They've got up. They're coming to drink. And this tawny lion and this white lion just popped over the dam wall at Nkombi Pan. And they went and they sat. We didn't even have to reposition. They just came to us. And I was clicking away, and Grant said to me, Vondo, that's my nickname, I want a copy of that photo. And I very arrogantly said, don't worry, you're going to see this in magazines. Because I knew it's the only photo I've ever taken that I knew at the moment I pushed that shutter that it was a rare and unique moment, and wasn't going to be repeated again. So that was very cool. I'm a little bit over that photo because I've seen it so much in my own portfolios over the last 15 years. But yeah, I mean, other photographic moments.
I mean, some of the photos, like in your book, I mean, some of them like stand out to me as the wild dog photo. A lot of guests actually point that out, and it can be quite a graphic photo. It's a wild dog with the head of an impala in its mouth. So you can imagine it's very graphic, but I mean, it does really stand out. That's probably one of my favorite photos.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and I'm surprised. It's but that was also just happenstance. In a sighting, this dog came walking up to me. You know, you got to be careful. I mean, some of my more memorable moments that I did 15, 16 years ago, now when I look back, I think, why was I taking such chances? You know, and it's coming into the spotlight quite a bit now, where, you know, these photographers trying to get the edge over others, or social media influencers trying to get unique content, are putting themselves in danger, putting animals in danger for the shot. And it's a very contentious issue. And, you know, I can't point fingers at these people, because in my younger years, I used to do some silly things like that too. And now, I mean, I've got developed a lot as a human and as a guide, and I've got a different level of, I don't say respect, but it is, you know, I'm not going to take those sorts of chances. You know, but it's you got to be careful with what you put out there. And, you know, these guys that would leopard crawl up to lions just to get a closer, low angle view, it's just not worth it for you or the animals. So, you know, I now pride myself in not pushing the boundaries, not pushing the limits, and just trying to actually capture what nature gives you, rather than trying to go out and create a photograph.
Yeah, that's actually... Oh, sorry, Chad.
No, carry on.
No, it's actually something we talked about in a previous episode, about like the ethics behind, you know, TikTok stars and social media stars and things like that. It's something we are pretty passionate about, and I would be curious about your take on, you know, abandoning a photo for ethical reasons, or if you've ever had to, you know, step in to a situation that you were photographing, if you ever would do something like that. Kind of expanding upon what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess it's now, you know, just not pushing it. You know, I've had times where you've come across cute little lion cubs that are playing out in the riverbed, and you look around and there's no mother, And you don't want these things to now be distracted by you while you're clicking away, taking your photos, and a leopard or a hyena comes and surprises them. So we have in our reserve a very strict protocol that if you find baby animals without their mother, you have to leave them. You can't sit and view them. And it's difficult when you have photographers or even guests that aren't photographers that want to sit and watch this. But, the vast majority of them are going to be very understanding when you explain the sensitivity of those situations. And trust me, I'd also love to stay there and photograph those, but I would never put those little cubs' lives in danger for my own satisfaction or the enjoyment of my guests. Animals come first. Our viewing and our photographic opportunities come very far second to that.
I like hearing that, and I'm sure, Tristan, you'd feel the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was going to say there was actually a good example of this literally the other day. I don't know if you saw that video going viral around, was it in Tanzania?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where there was like a wildebeest crossing and it just got completely out of hand with the Great Migration, and like you could see that there were guests literally outside of the vehicle, lined up along the riverbank just to get the photos. And like that, you ask like just about any guide, maybe besides the guides that let their guests get out, but you ask like any other guide, and like that's a line that's been crossed there big time, because then you're doing exactly what you're saying you should.
And I had a bit of a dilemma. I went and hiked the gorillas in Rwanda in 2017 and lugged a huge camera up the mountain for 3.5 hours. No, I think I took like 3 photos with it. I was like, that was a big waste of energy. Yeah. But, the guys saw I had a camera, and I remember the one, it was a mom and a juvenile in a thicket, and they just went and they hacked all the branches away so that I could get a clear view of her. And I kept telling them, like, I don't need this photo. You don't have to do that. But they'd obviously been pressured by other photographers to get these clear shots. Yeah. And I was quite put off by the actions of this assistant guide and what he was doing. But then it also made me think about what I do and how I sometimes respect or approach the wildlife, and we will have a little shrub in front of us, and I've on more than one occasion just driven over that bush to get a better view, and I was offended by this guy's behavior, but I was like, I'm actually no different. So it really reshaped my perspective of how much I push myself in the vehicle just to get a better photographic opportunity, and understanding that we actually have to put the animals in the environment before our own viewing and photographic needs. So made me question a lot of things, and kind of reshape my path going forward. But I think everybody goes through these, and I hope that a lot of these influencers and social media photographers that are coming under the spotlight now, it's also just a phase that they go through, and hopefully they will also realize in time that they need to be a little bit more respectful, and they understand what they're doing, but I worry that people that are less informed are going to see their behaviors and go and try and replicate that, and that's going to put more tourists and more animals at risk if something goes wrong.
I agree.
Ultimately it's a maturity thing, but also an education piece, and I think part of what we're hoping to do here is to educate people on the dangers and the impact that some of these phases that people could have on the greater ecosystem. So it's great to have photographers such as yourself that do care about, you called yourself a naturalist, and caring more about the animals and the welfare of those animals versus the shot that you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
I do want to make sure that I show your book for anyone that's on video. It's just so visually incredible. And if you're listening, we've given some descriptions. I know Chad and Tristan both gave some really vibrant and beautiful descriptions, but I've got the book here. It's called Contrasts. Chad, curious how you kind of took your photographic mind and brought that into almost like a story between the juxtapositions between life in the bush in that kind of contrast narrative. If you could talk a little bit about that and how that came to be, how you created this book.
Yeah, so you were right earlier when you said I'd published 2 books. I'd done one for the previous lodge I worked at back in 2013, and I had another 7-8 years worth of photographs that I wanted to put together to generate a little bit of extra money to buy these big cameras and lenses that I need. And it's one thing having the photographs. And I actually had a guest this morning who was a surf photographer, and he bought a book, and he called me aside this morning. He said, I was reading a book last night, and I just loved this contrast. That's what caught me. And he started reading it, and he was like, every page he got to, he's like, I want to see what the next contrast is. And it was the original premise of my book was to show the contrasts of the seasons. I love our summer period here when everything is lush and green. I forget that it's hot and full of bugs, but the bush looks amazing, and it just contrasts so vividly with the dry African colors that you see behind us at the moment. So I set out to do a book about the seasons, but then the more that I looked at the photographs that I wanted to put into the book, the more I realized that a lot of them didn't actually have a seasonal connotation to them, like the white lion photo. That's just a photo of two lions. But what I saw was that there was a contrast. And then I had another, quite a gruesome picture in the book, sorry, but it is a lion attacking a hyena, and the contrast of that is a photo of a hyena eating a lion. And this, like, the penny dropped. I thought, okay, this is something I can work on. And then when I started thinking of all the different contrasts that we have out there in nature, and how much of that I'd photographed, I thought, this is an easier way of starting to piece together and telling a story about nature. I can contrast the seasons, I can contrast the shapes of the animals, the tawny and the white lions, and then contrast the ways of survival. An elephant feeding for 18, 20 hours a day versus a lion sleeping for that same amount of time. It's a completely contrasting sort of lifestyle. So once I struck onto this idea of contrast, I was then able to find the images in my somewhat extensive catalogue and put them together and come up with that book that you have in front of you.
Amazing. That's such a fascinating way of bringing to life the pictures that you had in your catalog, as you said, of over so many years, and then bringing that to life to showcase how gorgeous life is in the bush, and also that sort of the circle of life that can be quite treacherous and kind of jarring to some that might not be there, but it is really beautiful. And I think the note that you wrote to me when I was out in the bush, you mentioned that it would keep the warmth of Africa close to my heart, and it really does, because I'm able to just look back on all of these visuals, and it reminds me of my time there. So I appreciate that.
And then my job has been accomplished. So thank you for supporting it, and thank you for reading it and sharing it. And it's a special place, and I love that people have it sitting in their homes, and in a cold winter's day in London or New York or wherever you may find yourself, to actually go back and page through it and relive some of your safari memories, because coming out here, as I'm sure you've chatted about, is a incredibly special privilege, and something that I think sticks with people for a long time.
Yeah, I think it must be so cool also having like a book like that, exactly what you're saying, like knowing that your past guests, or the amount of people that buy your book also just as a gift to give to somebody, because it's like really so incredible. And to know that your photos and you, like a bit of your story and everything like that is like sitting in homes around the world. I think that's actually really cool. That's such a lovely feeling. Like I once had a guest that came to the lodge, and they're like, oh, we see you all the time, and I'm like, what do you mean, this is your first time at Tandatula and everything like that? And I'm really not on the social media page that much. but they're like, no, our friends have that come here all the time. They have in their living room is a big picture of the two of them and then me in the middle. And so whenever they went over to their house for dinner or anything like that, there's they see me. And so I think that would be so cool. Just that feeling that I got from that was oh, that's actually really cool that I'm in someone's life. So the fact that your book is around the world and people are reading it, I think that must be a great feeling and a well-deserved one.
It is. And I'm actually just looking, we've got our camera balanced on a few books, and the very top book is from a guide and photographer, Lex Hess, who worked at Londolozi in the 80s, I think. And I just remember as a kid growing up, and every time I went to the national park, I'd always go look at the postcards and look at the photos there, and they were invariably taken by Lex Hess. And Lex Hess has a copy of my book signed to him sitting in his house, and I never as a kid would have thought that this photographer that I kind of idolized and dreamt of being now owns a copy of my book.
That's actually very cool.
Yeah, it is special.
It's so you know, you're in people's lives, you're in people's homes, it's really kind of intimate, you know, that you have these moments with people. Tristan, how crazy that someone said they kind of knew you before they actually met you because of you know, a photography, you know, thing that someone had in their own home as well. So I think that's kind of cool to think.
Viral dance movie. There was a. If you go into Tandatila's social page, I don't know why I'm plugging this because it's actually really quite embarrassing. But anyway, there's a video of me dancing.
You love it.
Low key, but like what was that, a year or 2 years ago, and that went somewhat viral. Maybe not around the world, definitely not, but in this community, big time. Like I went into Pick and Pay, which is a shop you get in South Africa, a grocery store. And someone recognized me there, like, you work at Tanatula? You were dancing. And I was like, there's no ways. I've worked, I mean, my career hasn't been as long as yours and everything like that. But I'm like, in this industry, reputation is everything. And like, I'm like, my reputation at the moment is I'm the bad dancer from Tanatula. I'm not known for anything else.
Good dance moves.
I'm gonna have to look at this.
Otherwise.
Thank you.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go look at it now. I haven't seen it, so
I'll
now
sure
I'm
put
gonna
it on
definitely
Instagram as well.
Sounds
good.
good.
You can slot it in right here.
No chance.
Oh, well, Chad, you talked a lot about all the different places that you have gone and photographed animals and wildlife. I wonder if there's a dream, you know, destination that you haven't gone to, or if there's a dream animal that you haven't photographed yet that you have in mind.
Chad.
The actual country.
The country, not myself.
Not you.
People always think I'm joking when I say I want to go to Chad. And it's not just so they can say, welcome to Chad. But there is a national park there called Zakuma, which Africa Parks, one of our NGOs, have been quite instrumental in getting up and running again. And whenever any other photographer has been there and posts their images on social media, I don't even need to the caption. I can just tell that it is Zakuma National Park. And I don't know what it is about it. It just seems to be the abundance of life and birds. I mean, flocks of hundreds of thousands of birds everywhere. So you'll be photographing a lion in a floodplain and the sky's just full of birds, or the background's just full of different species. It just looks like a little oasis in the middle of a country that nobody would think to go to for safari. Cool. So Chad is a more realistic destination for me. Antarctica, I would not mind going there, although I was looking at white desert safaris recently at a mere $110,000 for 8 days. That's a little bit out of my price range.
Maybe you could go there and photograph a guide.
There we go.
Honestly, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, just to photograph in something so completely different, that would be enjoyable. But you know, the one that I always love going to is East Africa. It is a photographer's dream. It's why so many of the most well-known wildlife photographers do their work there, because you have a huge number of animals, a huge number of subjects, and it's those vast open plains that you see on television, which is a photographer's absolute dream. You know, you're not going to get any distracting elements. It makes life very easy. It's a different way of photographing, and I've been lucky enough to do a few trips. I actually spent a month as a photographer in residence at a camp called Alex Walker Syrian in the Mara North Conservancy, just outside the Masai Mara National Park. And what a joy that was to just spend a month out teaching guests a little bit about photography. But a surprisingly few number of guests actually came with cameras. Those that had got them the night before they flew out. Or they they flew with their iPhones. And so there was actually very few people I could teach. So I just had a vehicle and went out on my own and taught myself a bit more. But that was really special, and I've got I say growing portfolio, but I need to find a way of getting some of those images into a book at some point, because it's very different from the type of nature photography I do here in the Timbavati, which is a bit more intimate, close-ups, portraits and that. But East Africa will always be a place that I've traveled to and enjoy from a photographic perspective.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting you to say Chad, to be honest. I also thought maybe I pronounced your name wrong or something. I was like, okay, sorry. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for all of your incredible insights and stories, and yeah, just hearing, the experiences that you've had that I think most people will never have, is going to be so exciting for our listeners to hear about. And before we get to our last little segment called What the Wild, where we'll have two guides guessing our animal noise. So, yeah, I feel like there's no pressure, but like very exciting for us. Chad, I have one last question for you. Do you, a big underpinning of our podcast is around conservation and conservation efforts. So, do you feel like the work that you're doing in photography supports conservation? And if so, how does that look to you? You mentioned that you're a naturalist and that sort of comes first for you. So wanted to hear your kind of opinion and take on that piece.
Yeah, look, I think in my earlier years, I was a bit more enamored with social media. I've maybe due to age and maturity outgrown it, but I understand that me not posting as much now on my personal accounts as I used to, I'm missing out on connecting with people. Social media has the power to spread messages around the world in an incredibly quick fashion. And by being able to capture moments, either beautiful moments, tender moments, dramatic moments, you can share these with people that might never be able to get to Africa themselves, and they can live vicariously through my social media feeds. And I know that I've upset a few people by not continuing with the social media posts like I used to do. And I think in a way, although they're never actually visiting these places, they develop a love and affinity to them that will make them want to promote and conserve and protect them, even from the other side of the world, wherever they may be. I do think that this photography can be sent out with the message. I know there's a number of young guides in the area. I mean, Cathan Moore from Kingscamp, our neighbours, he's a fantastic young photographer,
he really is.
Very passionate about it. But, his images are great, but what he's also really good at is being a storyteller and creating an awareness about the animals that he's photographing and portraying. And this, again, he's got a great following, and his posts are helping to spread the word. So I do think as photographers living out here, we almost, I don't say have a duty, but we have a privilege of being able to share what we see and just get more people connected to this place. And who knows, maybe someone who never ever thought of coming on safari, coming to a place like Tandatula, sees these photos and thinks, actually, that looks amazing. I want to go and do that. And then they get to come and experience this, and they'll take that message back home, and it has this ripple effect just from seeing a photo or two on my social media feed.
Absolutely. And by coming on safari, also like directly helping out in conservation. I mean, like we spoke about it a bit like on previous episodes, but like coming here to the Timavati where we are at Tandatula, like there's a conservation levy included like in your booking, and like that goes directly back into the reserve and helps out. And so that could be inspired through, your photos, someone coming to stay here. I mean, that's brilliant for everyone, every animal, everything involved, really. Yeah.
And if it makes any kind of difference as well, regardless of posting now on your social media, Chad, you made such a huge impact on me and kind of were a big reason why we started this podcast, which hopefully will reach so many people, just from our ability to speak to people in a different format outside of social media. And your books are touching a ton of people, I think, to be inspired to love and want to help and conserve particular species. So I think you're doing incredible work.
Well, thank you very much. Do appreciate that.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming on and telling us about just a little snippet of your world and your life, and the great work you're doing. And now I'm going to try and test some of your skills here, boys. I'm going to talk.
This is how I feel every time we do this, because I never know what I was going to play on this thing, and it does make me a bit nervous. Our one rule is like, you have to keep it in Africa.
Okay.
Like, surely, like you have to keep it in Africa, because if it's around the world, like that's impossible. Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so for our listeners, this is What the Wild. We're going to try and stump Tristan and today Chad as well. We've got 2 for the price of 1. Very excited about this, with an animal noise that they are going to guess. So here we go. Sometimes I get hints if I'm feeling things. Okay.
Do you have an idea?
On the count of three.
1, 2, 3.
Flamingos.
Yes! Is that right?
No, it has to be a flamingo.
Oh my
I
word.
love that you both thought it was a flamingo. Do you
It's a
have
bird,
a second
though.
guess?
They haven't got wings.
Not a bird. It's not a bird.
It's not a
it's-
bird.
It's
Are you
much
listening to the sound you're
smaller.
playing us?
Yeah. It does sound like a bird, but it's not. It's small.
Okay, let's
a
play it
small
one more
animal.
time, Doc, because maybe we're missing something in this noise.
You got it. Ready?
Okay, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't say that. It makes me nervous. I don't have it.
What's your
Meerkat.
guess? Yes!
Okay.
Jeez, okay, nice.
It's a meerkat.
Oh, that is,
Almost a flamingo.
there's a contrast. Yo. Okay.
Yes.
And that wasn't rehearsed.
That's unbelievable.
That was
Okay, cool.
amazing.
Meerkat, well, I'm so glad you're
Great.
here because Dar and I would have been here for the rest of the day. I think we're trying to guess that. Okay.
Oh my god. I, for some reason, really love meerkats, and I've been waiting for so long to use that noise and to have a meerkat on as one of our animals. I'm so happy. Well, thank you. Thanks, boys. I love, if you're on video, like the background here is iconic. Very excited to be able to showcase the real work that Chad and Tristan are doing, and to hear from Chad with just a bird's eye view of the patience and beauty that he captures every day in the bush. So with that, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us again for another episode of Heart of the Wild. And as always, let the Heart of the Wild inspire not just awe, but action.
Amazing.
see you soon.
Thanks so much, everybody. And thanks, Fondo. Thanks for being on
Absolute
my
pleasure. Thanks for being so kind to me on this.
Yeah, actually, now we can go back to working together. Oh, my word.
I'll see you boys soon.
Cheers.
Bye.